All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in to the Sunny Days in Detroit postgame show. We got Pavo and Pat here. We're going to recap the Lions' loss in Dallas on Saturday night, 20-19. Before we get into, obviously, the elephant in the room is the 2-point controversy. A lot of opinions out there. Before we get into any of that, let's start with what we saw. What did we like? What did we not like? Pavo, you want to start us off?
I'll let Pat go.
Pat.
Yeah, sure. So I think goes without saying, the is the defensive play. I thought they came out with a great game plan. I thought they executed pretty well. I thought the baiting of the interception on Dak from Iffy was just picture perfect. He waited. He was patient. As soon as he came in the air, he just broke on the ball and it was right there for him. The sacks were there. Hutchinson was getting home. You saw all the things that you've been wanting to see, especially moving into I think the playoff pursuit only 2 weeks out. I think that was one of the things I liked most. I think one thing someone pointed out when I rewatched it, you could definitely see is they kind of just made it a CD Lamb game. They kind of really, I think, covered all aspects of the Dallas offense and really kind of wanted to make CD Lamb beat them. So he had that huge day. Outside that, 92-yard touchdown, he still had 120 yards or whatever it was. So he had himself a day, but they made them pretty one-dimensional. But in making someone one-dimensional of a player like that, they're still going to get theirs. And it was an interesting game plan. I thought they executed really well, and it's really cool seeing, I think, some of these guys that came into starting positions much later in the season really kind of developing quickly. So that's been another positive point to this team lately. I think other than that, defense is really what I liked about this game. I just think the offense looked a little disjointed again this week. I think that's just something I didn't really like. I think it was across the board. Just didn't seem like they're on the same page. The pass blocking wasn't as good as it was in other weeks too. So they just seemed to really struggle in a few different areas that they had a lot of opportunities. 2 turnovers, didn't capitalize, I think, on either of them. It's just, there's a lot of stuff that you got to clean up still. And it's going to the playoffs. They played a great game against a great opponent. So there's even with the loss, there's still good things to take away from it. But again, I think one of the things that we've been saying a lot is it's not a clean game. And I think that's something that kind of been a recurring theme over the last, since about November. And I think that's something that's, but we'll see what happens. It was a good team, so you can't put too much into that. But overall, I thought the defensive turnaround is something that is huge because even when the offense was fluttering a little bit, they were there to kind of back them up and take the reins and be like, we got you. We're not going to let that 3 and out turn into a points. We're going to get that ball back. And I do love that that's kind of, they're meeting the offense in the middle, kind of so to speak. They're kind of getting on the same level of play. We're not seeing that quite elite offense that we were used to from first half of the season, most of last year. But we're seeing a huge defensive turnaround that's really complementing style of football. They play really well if they're running the ball well. But I think as we saw, Dallas had a great game plan on how to slow down Jahmyr Gibbs, which was something I didn't see coming. So that was one thing that kind of threw me off a little bit. But that's about it for me.
I expected that pass defense to play the way it did from the Dallas side. But what really surprised me was how well prepared they were to stop the run. Because I thought that this was going to be a game, once again, we're going to lean on the run game quite a bit. And we didn't really have that opportunity, but I think overall, I think you did hit the nail on the head with the defense. The defense played very well. You're talking about a Cowboys team that blows teams out at home, blows them out, right?
30 points a game this season.
30 points a game. They're 17 now, 18-0 over the past, 3 seasons. They have not lost a game at home. I think overall, the Lions came out of this game knowing they could beat these guys. Doesn't matter where they could beat them. And I think the Cowboys came out of this game saying wow, we caught a nice break there, but they're capable of beating us as well, no doubt they did. But I think these are 2 very evenly matched teams. I think it helped them a lot playing in their own stadium. I think if this game's in Detroit, I don't think it's 2019. I think there's some more points going up. I think they would have made it a little more difficult on our fans would have made it difficult on Dallas and credit to, I don't think Goff played his best game, but he definitely kept it together because that was a loud crowd. He could have made a lot more mistakes and he didn't. He hung in there. Couple of throws I think he wished he had back, but overall, there's not a lot of things that I was that, you know, that upset with. You know, what really killed us, and we talk about it all the time, wrapping your guy up, finishing. Aiden had 3 sacks, which was awesome, but if they had brought down Dak in the end zone instead of a 92-yard touchdown, that's a safety, and we're talking about an entirely different game. That killed us. To me, that killed us maybe more than that 2-point conversion or anything else. You know, and what's frustrating is that, like, Derek Barnes had a clear shot at him, and he just didn't wrap up. Derek was like looking for the blow-up shot, I guess. Maybe he wanted to knock that ball loose. You got to wrap and fall on him, man. Like, I'll accept a helmet to helmet. I'll accept a unnecessary, whatever stupid flag they want to throw on sacking the quarterback. I would have accepted that. What I can't accept is you just bumping your shoulder into him, thinking you were going to light him up. I mean, Dak is not a small guy. He's not a light guy. Like, he's not a guy you're just gonna run through. Especially when he sees you coming. That killed me. That killed me more than anything.
It gave me I got like flashbacks of Jared Davis when I saw that, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I just like ran straight at a guy, didn't stop, didn't pivot. He just like ran full speed and just right by him. I was like, what the fuck?
And one thing I mean, everything in my notes here, DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, everybody was talking about Micah Parsons. The Lions were ready to play Micah Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence had the game of his life. I mean, that guy was all over the field. All over the field, stopping us in the run, pressuring in the pass. I'm not sure if he had a sack. I want to say he did have a sack.
You kind of nailed it though, because like I think with so much attention on Micah Parsons, it gives like a veteran like him a little more room to move around.
Well, Micah Parsons played more than Mike in this game. He wasn't rushing that often. They moved him to the Mike, so he wasn't playing his natural position of the Sam. So I don't think he was going to get the rushes that he.
They've been moving around though.
They moved him around certain passing situations, but if you saw Micah Parsons, they use him in a lot of run plays, and they use him in other situations as a Mike too. So that was the big move that they're talking about before the game, that you're going to see Parsons play a Mike, not a Sam, which I think changed the way that we didn't see them on film. So how do we prepare for it? And I think it threw the Lions off a little bit.
What'd you think overall, Pavo?
You know, I'm trying to find something right now just to hold on, see this. So total plays, hold on, give me 1 second. Total yards. Hold on, 323. Sorry, I'm just about done.
One other note I had, first half when we were in the red zone, I think this was the drive that the Cowboys fumbled into the end zone. We got it back. We drove all the way up. Mm-hmm. I really think, and you know, it's Monday morning quarterback, and I understand. I understand why he goes for it as much as he does. I think he needed to take the points there. He needed to take the 3 points before the first half was over. When we went for it on fourth and didn't get it, whenever it was like 4th and goal from the 5, I think he should have taken those points. And I get it. Like, you drove all the way up the field. You got the momentum. I get it, but you know, I mean, looking at it now, those 3 points would have really helped us. You know, and I listen. You never know what happens. You know, it's tough to play that game of, well, if they just kicked that field goal, see, they would have had 3 more. It sets off a chain of events, but that was my one coaching blunder.
Out of curiosity, do you have it in front of you if Dallas punted after they got that back?
That I don't know. I'm just going off my first half notes here.
You're talking about you're talking about
after the turnover when he fumbled in the end zone.
That was no, we got the ball.
No. After we got the ball, you're talking
about when we didn't kick the field goal when we were at the 6-yard line.
Yeah, yes. Did Dallas score after that?
That I'm not sure.
Because if they didn't, then it's a huge case of 3 points, kick it, you stop them anyway. So then you're getting the ball back with 3. But if they they get on score, it's just everything's situational. So it's like what they're going to do right there isn't going to be what to do if they got a kickoff. So it's like that's so hard to dissect this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so my point defensively, we could talk. They look that much better. Points wise, yes, they give up 19, 20 points instead of what did we give up to the Vikings?
24.
So but statistically, it's almost the exact same stats. I think 384 total yards to 390. Time possession was about the same. Rushing yards 61 here. I think they were like slightly under that. And Vikings passing yards was just about the same. is pretty much the same defensive performance. And maybe that is who we're getting. But I just remember on here we talked about how awful this defense looks and we need to make improvements. And we let a fourth-string quarterback beat us. So maybe it's better that you let an MVP guy, play better. For me, I mean, it was Lions did exactly what you're supposed to do to go play a really good opponent on the road in a playoff game, in a pivotal seeding game, need to win it. You saw the emotions into it. You saw the players pumped up. You saw the whole team they're ready. They're fired up. They wanted this W. And then for me, there's not too much that I got to say about the game. I thought overall, I said this at one point, we have to start using the middle of the field on them. Some teams you want to throw to the outside, you got to use the middle of the field. When they use Jamo in the middle of the field, when they ran Amon in the middle, hitting Sam Laporta, it is their players take chances on jumping routes, and they're really good at jumping routes on outs. And so that's where the interceptions happen. Two of the same situations that interceptions. I think Goff wish you could have the ball back. But overall, I can't complain about it. But what I will tell you is a little thing. The player that I'm probably the most disappointed early on in the game was Sam Laporta. He was he missed key blocks. He had one guy to assign. He whiffed on them. A couple of drives early in the game, we punted because of him. He had a drop for a first down that went right through his hands and went, diving for it. So Sam, he didn't show up. He had a decent second half. Had a couple key catches on that drive. I think, did he have a touchdown? Whatever it was. But early on in the game, Sam Laporta, Gibbs kept getting blown up because Sam Laporta kept missing his block. So that's the one guy that I would be disappointed early on, that I think with his drop and his miss blocking, I think on a 3rd and 3, and then also on a 3rd and 2, where I think Kursk was one of them, and another one was Michael Parsons. He just hit the chip. He completely whiffed. The one there's 50 yards of open field if he puts a block on him for Gibbs. So I think Sam, and honestly, I'm not sure if he has that role if Brock Wright's playing. Maybe he's doing a little bit more than he typically does. So maybe he wasn't used to that. I don't recall if they're using him on a lot of these, in motion, coming across the line, and then having to pick up who he wants to pick up. But I think that's where more of my disappointment, if I had to pick one player, was. But as a defense, I mean, I think this is a new defense. We bitched about the Minnesota game, but we had Brian Branch up for rookie of the year. We had other guy in Iffy up for defensive player of the year. You're seeing the backfield. You're seeing the backfield coming together. Kirby's playing better. And at the end of the day, with CeeDee Lamb, you never want to see a guy put up 223 yards on you. But that's all they had going for them with CeeDee Lamb. So
I think the difference, Paul, in the defensive outlook was there was some big plays on the Dallas side. But for the most part, you kept a high-powered, offense in check in their own stadium. And maybe it's all perception. Yeah. So maybe we're just, maybe it's like you said, giving up 400 to Nick Mullins looks a lot worse than giving up all those yards to Dak. But listen, I think in the red zone, this team looked a lot better than they looked.
Listen, they gave up 6 points in the second half, and when Dallas drove, they got field goals out of it. That was the difference. You didn't let them get in the end zone, because if not, you had 8 points. That's 28 points. So to let us get back in the game in the second half, when Dallas drove down 2 times inside the 30, I think they hit a 54-yard field goal and a 48 or 51. When they got in the 25, they held them to a field goal. So
and I will say this, I think the Lions played a cleaner game of football this week than they did. I wouldn't say maybe. Yeah, I actually will say that. I think they played cleaner than they did last week, and I think they played a cleaner game of football than the Cowboys did. The Cowboys happened to win, and that's what that's that. But I think that they played cleaner. There was a lot of mistakes on the Cowboys side. It was CD that fumbled that ball, right? Into the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big fuck up. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, shit, if that was one of our guys, we'd be ripping them. Absolutely ripping them in a close game like that. So,
I mean, that's the possession that we drove down the field and we went for it on when he fumbled it. We went for it on 4th down, because I kept saying kick the field goal, because it should have been a touchdown on CeeDee Lamb, and now it's a 10-point differential even if you get a field goal. So, and that was the first half. So I think they already had 14. They didn't score after that. So to your Pat, they didn't score because it was 14. I think it was 14-3, and they were about to score to go up 21-3, I think. And the Lions held them out on that, and I believe so, right?
And you know what, man, too? Got to give a lot of kudos. And, I guess when we're in this world of going for it on fourth, sometimes it's not going to go our way, and that sucks. But like credit to the special teams and Jalen Reeves-Maben completing that throw. That fake punt took a set of balls, man. And I know we say this all the time with Dan, but like that really shocked the shit out of me.
But you know what? We crucified him for the Green Bay game. It was the same exact play. The ball was at the inside the 30-yard line. He did it again.
That's the thing. I think you got to live. You got to live with
it. I think the Green Bay game though, they tried to run it. They didn't try to pass it.
But that was a run play. But they had it in case he can't run it. It was to throw it. They had an option there. But I mean, what's the difference? I mean, if he throws it, you're having a linebacker throw the ball. That's gutsy.
I think the difference was they ran it a lot cleaner against Dallas than they did against Green Bay.
Yeah,
the block.
You're right.
Excuse me. Blocking didn't fall apart.
So. Yeah, I mean
that's what I'm saying. It was a clean game. It was a very clean game from the Lions. A couple mistakes, but this is not a game to hang your hat about.
I think when you look at last week, this week, we're talking about kind of similar games, but I think this is kind of what makes the Lions so difficult to read on where they're at as a team, because it seems like they play down to bad teams and they play up to good teams, and that's what I just don't understand. And we've seen it against the Bears, we've seen it against Packers, we've seen it. Well, Packers are kind of coming around.
That's the whole NFL, though. That's just what the NFL is.
I think San Fran, Baltimore, other teams aren't.
I mean, San Fran lost to 2 backup quarterbacks.
Miami, I get it, but I think there's some validity to it. There's not are we gonna pretend that they aren't they're just dominating teams they're supposed to dominate this season?
No, but this is the NFL. This is professional football.
I get
it. The teams are prepared. It's tough to go on a road and win. I don't think so. To you guys, I think you were saying it, Pat, talking about who have they been the last month and a half. I mean, there was a 4-game stretch, but from Denver to Minnesota to this, they've played good football. Even though in Minnesota it was a close game at the end, they played good football in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's never been a question of them playing good football or playing good games. It's again, the quality of teams are playing and what we can look. And that's why I like to see this Dallas game, because it gave me a lot more confidence in them. But I'm not going to pretend that I see other games and I'm how are they letting this team stay in this?
So what's an example? What game did you?
Last week, he had 4 interceptions and they were in the game. And they threw a bad pass to lose it. He threw a terrible pass to lose the game.
But Minnesota's a playoff team. They're fighting to get in the playoffs.
I think are they eliminated now after yesterday?
No.
Do you think Minnesota's a team that should beat us?
No.
In the divisional game on the road, no. But we won the game. We covered the spread. What do you want me to say?
I know we did. I know we did. With Nick Mullins throwing 4 picks and still
Nick Mullins is a decent quarterback. He's not afraid to make a mistake.
We're going to do that now that he's now a good quarterback.
He's a capable quarterback. Could step in and make some plays. He got benched, and they showed it was a mistake against Green Bay yesterday.
He's capable. I think he plays a little aggressive, and I think
he went in San Fran. But
I also think that game called. I think that game called for him to play aggressive because yes, he was throwing picks, but he was also having all those big chunk plays.
He has a good offensive line. He has 2 of the best young receivers in the league. Had Hawkins. I know he went on the first half, and Addison. But we're gonna give up plays. We have a lot of young guys in the backfield. You're having Iffy learning how to communicate with Vilver, who wasn't even on the roster. Kirby's back there, who doesn't know how to communicate with Iffy.
So I'll frame it a different way. If I told you before that game that Nick Mullins is going to throw 4 interceptions and have the opportunity to throw a game-winning touchdown at the end, would you say Lions probably playing a good game in that game?
Okay, so who played a bad game? Because today you're talking about how happy you are.
This is
I'm happy they won. And you know what I would like to see? I'm upset that the drive before they didn't put them away on the drive before that. Ben Johnson and Goff looked so scattered, and they got 2 delay of penalties. That's wrong because they had a lead up. They had the ball, I think, up 11. I called you and I said we're going to win the division. They had the ball to put it up way by 17, and the offense stalled.
I think what you're saying, Pat, is more of an indictment on the Lions' offense in Minnesota than it is on the defense, right? Because Nick Mullins still had a chance to win the game after throwing 4 picks.
And I've been saying
because the Lions didn't score, and I know
for
30
a while,
points.
That I feel like the offense has been taking steps back, and again, with the defense taking steps forward, it kind of offsets. But you want to see
concerned.
That
you're concerned a little.
It does
yes,
give me genuine concern. It does. I don't think they look like the powerhouse they did in the beginning of the season, like they did at most of last year. They look a little flatter than they were. and like that does worry me a little bit. And like looks like
what you like literally just said last to me either on the phone or somewhere that if the Lions win in Dallas, like I'm legitimately like this team can win a Super Bowl, and now they don't look as good because of a messed up call.
Did I say that?
You said like I'm gonna change my tune if they win this game. I'm all on this.
Did they win?
I think I got the text message.
Did they win?
No.
Well, now let's get into we recap the game. Let's get into this 2-point conversion controversy. I could explain it, but I feel like I'm probably going to say a couple things wrong. Pavo, you've went over this a million times, I'm sure. One of you guys take the audience through the scenario. What happened? What was supposed to happen? They're claiming what didn't. Who wants to start here? Pavo, Pat?
I mean, I'm packing. Go ahead.
I hate
I don't know.
I mean, call a spade a spade. It was a fuck up on the ref's behalf. Period. Point blank. That's it. Like that's when you can. That's how you can just call it and leave it. We can talk. You know, like there then things.
Well, some people maybe still don't understand it. So let's take us through it.
Yeah. So the whole idea is you have Dan Campbell talking to these guys pre-game, telling them exactly how he's going to run this play, how they have this trick, like a trick-ish play. I'm not even going to call it a trick play. More of like a diversion.
It is a trick play.
It is, but it's like, I mean, it's like more like diversion. It's like they're trying to like mask who is talking to the ref and who's like eligible. But I got a question here because before I get into this, does the ref not announce who's eligible or not over the?
He doesn't have to.
Typically they do. He has to tell the defense.
He has to tell the defense. That's why he ran over, and if they get time, they go over.
So,
but they don't have to.
And this is where
and that to me is fishy because if Dan Campbell hears that they announced the wrong guy, so that's on my whole. I'm skeptical about it. Listen, I first came with this honest opinion of I think the ref screwed up, but why didn't he announce it? Why didn't he say Dan Skipper is eligible and number 70 is eligible? And Dan Campbell could have been like, wait a second. Time out. He went quietly to the Dallas Cowboys.
They didn't have any timeouts.
Then let the play clock run away and talk to them. I don't know. You don't run the play because it's a penalty.
They're not going to give you anything. You're not going to get like a pass on the delay game.
But you might have an audible. You might have an audible that you could change to an audible and be like, shit, we can't run this play.
But also,
why don't you announce it?
The officials can stop the game. If there's an issue, the officials have the power to say, all right, wait a minute, stop the clock.
He decided
and
not
go
to
through it
announce
again.
it.
They are able to do that.
And this was talked about it differently. He messed up on every single part of this play. That I was first convinced was an innocent mistake by him. And now I question everything was an innocent mistake.
Well, I also look at like, it's like, again, I try to look objectively like, all right, if it's an honest mistake, it also puts at Dallas at a deficiency as well. If they think that Skipper's the eligible one, not Decker, why are they going to pay any attention to Decker going out for a pass?
Well, how does this put that? Wait, what?
If they think that Skipper's the eligible guy because he has to tell the defense who's eligible, they're not looking at Decker to go out for a pass or potentially going out for a pass.
True.
So like that's why I'm like, there's a little bit of ambiguity here of like if it's both teams are like, obviously it sucks because it's the last play of the game. So that's what we're all going to have.
But hold on. If they go and mark Dan Skipper, if they go mark Taylor Decker, it's going to, he wasn't the only option that went out for a pass. It maybe would have left someone else open because I've heard this argument saying if they knew Decker was the eligible guy, they would have covered different. But guess what? They didn't cover it. They covered everyone else.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know he was eligible.
But maybe Amon St. Brown is open now because another guy.
That's the conversation they have though. Without them doing it properly, we don't know what the real outcome would be.
But you know what's so dumb about this is that this has been done by so many teams so many times.
And they score with a wide open guy and the defense knowing.
This isn't a new thing, right? Like I've seen
this exact guy did with this whole scenario too.
I've seen Bill Belichick break down. I've seen Bill Belichick break this down so many times because Bill loves to do this in New England. And one thing that stuck out to me, Bill years ago said, what I've done in the past is I'll come out and I'll have my left tackle mark himself eligible, and I'll take my number 2 receiver and he'll mark himself ineligible. But it's a force of nature. Like, you're not going to not cover the number 2 receiver.
You're just used to doing it. You still will.
You're just so used to it.
That
doesn't seem natural. How am I not going to cover that guy? But teams do that. Like, this isn't. So that's what was so frustrating. And Dan Dan showed them, and so now some people are saying, like, this is the two things that I've heard that I completely disagree with, is that people are saying, well, Detroit screwed up because you sent 3 guys to the official. I don't care if I sent all 11 to the official. It doesn't matter.
That is the trick. That's the trick
exactly.
of the play.
And your job.
Sewell there
yes.
to send what's
Decker,
his name? Skipper coming out
Sewell.
of the bench, making it look like he is actually the one.
Yes.
Because you know what? There's 11 guys on the field, and it's hard to communicate. And the crowd's making noise because they're at home on defense. They don't want us to hear. That's why you're trying to cause confusion. So someone might not even hear who's eligible, who's not eligible, and that's how Decker gets open. Like.
That's ridiculous. And that's the other thing too. The Lions are not the first team that sent 3 guys to the official for that.
No.
So don't give me that. The official's job, that's your job. You're supposed to listen. You're supposed to listen and do the right thing. What this excuse of people are saying, oh, well, it was so loud in there and how that's your job. You're the official. You're supposed to know these things. And if you don't
know, stop it.
Stop it. Exactly.
What's going on here?
This doesn't seem right. What are you guys trying to do?
From the get-go, as I said, like no matter what our opinions are in the situation, what could have been, could have had, it was a fuck up on the refs' behalf. And like, there's no other way to cut it. And like, I hate that they're fucking doubling down as the NFL behind these guys on the call. Yeah. The guy's not even knowing it was a fucking mistake, which is even
Pat,
more frustrating.
How dumb is this? So you're blaming the NFL kind of flipped it back and is blaming the Lions, but that
when did they do? But when did the NFL blame the Lions? Did I miss something?
They said that they created the confusion that led to the misunderstanding.
But that's not him. That just is Blandino, who's a Fox.
No,
guy.
the NFL said it. It came from the NFL today.
I saw Pride of Detroit tweeted that. They have an article. I didn't read the article.
The NFL themselves are the ones now like getting behind, like, hey, like the games that they put on the field was the reason for the confusion.
But this is the ass backwards part of this is you're blaming us, but now that officiating crew is not allowed to call a playoff game. So whose fault is it?
Yeah.
It's probably not our fault, right? Because if those guys did nothing wrong, they'd be calling a playoff game. Come on.
I mean, I just it's so
listen, I think if we're going to look at a silver lining here, I think this is going to light a fire under their ass. I think that they know that they should have won that game. In their mind, they won that game. They know what they're capable of, and that's the hope. That's the only hope, because what else can I say here? We didn't get the win. We're not going to get the 2 seed now. We're kind of locked into we are locked into the 3 essentially.
No. If Eagles and Dallas lose and we win, we can still get the 2
Oh,
seed.
we can still get the 2. Okay.
So there is still
something to play for.
Yeah, and we're the 1:00 game, of course. So we're probably going to march out our starters and fucking hopefully trample the fucking Minnesota Vikings, because they just came off a bad beat yesterday.
So for me, honestly, Dallas and the Eagles are not both going to lose. The chance of that happening are so rare.
Either do
I play this game as if you had the 2 clinched up and you can't move in seeding. If you're going to play golf anyways, then play him. If you're going to sit him, sit him. Like, I don't want to see anyone getting hurt in this game. We need them ready. And honestly, I think there's a better chance that
Lions have a good away record too. So
listen, this is where I'm going to tell you guys what's interesting. How do the Rams, who can't be worse than the Rams could be the 6 or 7, they clinch a playoff. Do the Rams rest some of their older players? And are the Rams sitting there saying, we'd rather go to Dallas or we'd rather come to Detroit? Because if they want to, they could lose, and Green Bay could become the 6, and Detroit plays the Packers if they won. So Packers own the tiebreaker over them because they beat them this year.
I think Rams play mainly due to, with such a young team, they need more experience.
But does that mean Stafford plays?
Continuity. Maybe
you can't risk him. Yeah, maybe pull him. So will they? They might lose, and if they lose, if they lose, and Packers beat the Bears, it's Packers.
San Fran actually has one locked up, so they're more likely to sit more guys.
Yeah. But I don't think they play Aaron Donald unless they really want to come to Detroit and play. Maybe McVay wants it. But if you're McVay, you're like, do I really want to go play golf? Like, it's an emotional game. Not that he's scared of golf. Not that golf's going to get better. But do you want to go and play someone that might be more inspired than going and playing?
I think you
Dallas?
do. That's a two-way street. They both want to prove each other wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
I think you just have to look at it from a health standpoint.
Yeah, I think you.
How is everyone feeling? Do we need? If you're dinged up, you're not playing. Like if it's locked up, if their playoff seed is locked up, I think if you're the Rams, you have to look at it as, we don't care if we go to Detroit, Dallas, Philly. We don't care. We're going to win. That's our mentality, right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and
just like that's our mentality,
no matter what. So it's like no matter where 7-6 doesn't matter. They're on the road the whole fucking playoffs, regardless of what happens.
Exactly. And honestly, for the Lions standpoint, right now, if you tell me we're playing the Packers. I don't know about the Packers. I'm not that big high on the Packers. But the Rams going to Dallas, they can win just how the Rams could win in Detroit if they play good. Like they could win both, So who knows? Who knows if that second home playoff game, even as a 3 seed, won't be in Detroit.
I don't even want. I don't know if anyone's why. I just can't believe it's fucking looks like it's happening again in Green Bay.
What?
What, that they have a quarterback?
Love has
been
that
good yesterday. What do you? He's missing open guys.
He's a first-year starting quarterback, and he's thrown 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions or something like that.
Dude,
he's looked good.
He's average.
He's looked
very,
good,
very average.
But
he's a 24-year-old first-year starter.
No, listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Jordan
Love. I'm not afraid of him at all.
I'm not going to take anything away from him. But I want to see more than this year.
Yeah, of course.
He's looked good. Does he strike fear? No. If the Lions played a clean game,
yeah, he looked really good. He looked really good in New York the other day against the backups everywhere, right?
I guess where?
In New York,
the Giants.
Giants, he looked like a stud. He was just out there tearing up, missing wide open players. He looked like a stud.
You told me. All quarterbacks miss a guy.
They do.
All right, let's get into the health here. We had a couple of scares. J-Mo went into the tent in that game. I want to say did he play after that?
No.
Because I saw him in the end jumping around when we all thought that they got the 2-point conversion. Do we know anything about J-Mo?
I saw someone post something, and they said it looks like, I can't remember what the kind of grade that sprain. They said it was like a sprain, and they said it looked like he was fine, but it would probably be worth just resting him just to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. So this sounds like that one wasn't bad. The one you said about Laporta sounded worse, but
do we think that we're not going to see J-Mo this week in Minnesota against Minnesota? Do we think that that's a possibility?
That I don't know, because I won't know anything really till tomorrow, and I'm sure Camp will be.
Well, Dan Campbell talked today, so did he say?
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
I did not listen to Dan's presser today.
Yeah, so let me see here if he said anything about injuries.
And then,
Paul,
do you have anything, or can I move on to?
No, I don't got
Laporta?
nothing. Yeah.
Laporta. I'm watching. I had a tweet pulled up. Some Lions fan, Jimmy Lau, MD on Twitter.
Yep.
Sam Laporta leg injury video. Leg gets pulled on a tackle in the third quarter. Possible quad muscle strain. Still played 100% of snaps. Slight limp on the final drive where he made 3 big catches. Seen limping heavily after the game. May want to rest him to avoid aggravation next week. Yeah, it's probably a guy that's not going to play. Hopefully Brock Wright is back by then. I don't know what's going on with Brock Wright. I don't know why he had an ankle injury too, right? Is that why he was out of this game?
I'm not sure. I forgot.
Yeah, I can't remember.
You need Laporta for the playoffs, so next week I guess there is that slight chance that we could be the 2, but you're banking on other things. The health is the most important thing for this team. I'm fine with Laporta and J-Mo sitting this one out if need be.
I think overall they escaped the game with not major injuries, which is key. So, I just read here that Dan Campbell told reporters that he drew up the whole entire play for them to understand everything about it. So,
yep.
That's what Rex Ryan said yesterday. Probably what happens. That's how they do it. Dan Campbell confirmed that. And it's really quickly. Can I talk about one thing in this game? Is the other missed call on this tripping penalty? So, you guys watch the replay on this?
Yeah, I saw what you're talking about.
Okay, so let's get it out there. Hutchinson didn't trip him. No one tripped him. He stuck his leg out, but no one tripped him. So at worst, there shouldn't have been a penalty call, but there shouldn't have been no flag called. And they should have second and nickel. They should have 2nd and 5. That's a blown call. It wasn't an automatic first down. Game's over. Lions would have still had a chance, to get the ball back at 2nd and 5. No one touched. But this is where it is. If you look at the back end of that play, Kaminsky, because it looks like Laporta, and I don't know what number they said. I didn't listen. At the end of that play, and I pulled it up today before we got on here, Kaminsky ran around, and then Kaminsky tried jumping over one of their players on the ground, and it also looks like that player kind of tripped them. So I think the flag could have been on that other player for possibly tripping Kaminsky. But it wasn't like a stat. But the play right away, they're talking about, well, the refs messed it up. Hutchinson didn't make any contact with him. You could see the intent was there, but intent is not a penalty.
I think it's I try to look at everything and shoe on the other foot. If we switch teams in this whole scenario, and it's Dallas that goes down with that 2-point conversion play. So they get it. There's no bad call, no gaff from the refs, and we lose that way, only to find out there's a tripping call that shouldn't have happened that put us at 1st and 25 rather than 2nd and 3, which that 2nd and 3 would give us 3 chances to get a first down and pretty much shut out the game.
I think the difference in my eyes is that and I'm not saying this is going to happen, and this is what I'm tired as a Lions fan. These dramatic like calls that are like rules are being changed, like their game affecting the Jim Schwartz throwing the flag out on a replay. Then they changed the way the penalty goes. The Calvin Johnson, the passer interference, walked it back against Dallas like in the playoff game. Like every single time with Detroit, I could see now that they're going to change the rule in the offseason on how they announced players being eligible.
1,000%.
And like and that's what I'm just tired of. Like it's not like that we lose it on a judgment call. Hey, was that like my one buddy talked about the Eagles Super Bowl. Yeah, that sucks on Bradbury. But it's a ref making a judgment call. Maybe he doesn't call the game even. Maybe a holding call gets missed. But I'm just tired of like that this could have just been a lapse in your brain for a second, and you thought you heard 70 or you looked at 70, and because of you not paying attention, we lost. Like,
well, why? Like, especially these primetime games with so much on the line. Why is that ref not wearing an earpiece? Why is there not someone in New York telling him like, hey, 68 declared himself eligible, not 70, 68. Like, why aren't things like that happening? Why can't? Just common sense. Who's gonna kill you if you stop the game? You know what? At worst, if you're an official and you say, wait, and you take an official's timeout. And you say, oh, okay, so it's 68, it's not 70, and you're doing all this in front of the defense. You know what? Maybe now that gets rid of our deception. But at least we have the chance to run a different play.
Yeah.
Jared has the opportunity to call an audible, call something else. We can live to fight another day.
Dan Skipper lined up as a guard. He's not even allowed to be eligible.
And I will say that's a bad call aside, and getting 2 more opportunities and just not even one chance thinking just to fucking send us to overtime. Like that's that third one.
Mike Stranahan talked about it yesterday, and I kind of honestly after hearing this, I kind of agree with them. Mike Stranahan says as a player and as a coach, and because the Lions, he is like understand the 2 seed, the 3 seeds out there, but he said like when you're a coach right there, you own it to your players to stay healthy, get into the playoffs. You locked up the division, you locked up. Did no more than the 3 seed. At that point, go out there, win it. Don't go to overtime and have a chance to have some major injury. He's like, he did the right thing. And then I think someone broke it down that like going from the 8-yard line was like a 55.6% chance of completing it compared to like a coin flip and then going back to the 3-yard line. Like, listen, they got the right play. He got the guy to jump on a hard count. Like, he got him to jump. He got a free play, and he had Golf said it, and I looked at. He had Khalif Raymond wide open in the end zone on that, and his elbow just got hit last second. The ball didn't come out clean on that, so it was a free play. But
I just hate that and I know we talked about.
I know
this
you don't want
Paul.
Mitchell.
I don't know why you're going to James. Like,
but he has good
2 seeds on the line.
Golf placed the ball in a bad spot. The wide open guy. If you watch the end of that play, the wide open guy was Reynolds was going to be wide open in the middle. If he held on it for 1 more second and pay attention, Reynolds was going to. Look at it. Reynolds would be as soon as he caught the guy didn't go with him, and he was wide open, and there was no one there to cover Reynolds.
I hear you. I hated that. The chance to be the 2 seed was in James Mitchell's, and I know it was a bad throw. It was a bad throw.
Now, chance number 1. If you won, you still had a chance at number 1 if San Fran lost next week.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I agree with Pat. Listen, I was actually saying kick the field goal too, but I get it now after. But if this same thing happens in the playoffs and we're going for it to 2 to win the game, and we decide not to after kick the field goal to overtime, your players were so emotional at that time. You were yelling, Golf was yelling, Skipper was yelling,
especially after all of that happened.
Just
I think even more so.
No, I think you have better momentum going into an overtime situation with that on the back. Like, the chip sitting there, like fuck these guys. We're not letting them take this.
I also feel like too, especially now with the overtime rules, like a field goal doesn't win it.
Exactly.
But also the other thing in the playoffs is the overtime rules are different. Even a team scores a touchdown, you get a chance to tie it.
Well, but that's my point. In that moment, I felt comfortable, and I know what you're saying from a health standpoint. Why you don't want overtime? I get that, but in that moment, I feel like, hey, our defense is playing good enough. Like if we put and there's also no guarantee that we were gonna put it into overtime because the Cowboys had like 23 seconds
And
one time.
And that's what I said. When people are saying we won the game, we didn't win the game yet. They have a kicker who claims he can make it from 70 yards. There's 23 seconds, and they got one timeout left. Like you get the ball to the 25-yard line, especially if we kick it deep. I mean, I hope at that point with 26 seconds, they wouldn't have kept it deep. They would have kicked it on the ground, made them pick it up at the 5-6 yard line and run out 4 or 5 seconds. And try to maybe get them at the 20. But you're right. I mean, listen, he claims it. I mean, wouldn't that be something right now? Imagine if we lost it on a 70-yard field goal.
I'd be able to.
That would be worse. That would
no,
be worse.
I think that would somehow be worse.
I would. That would be worse.
Not for me.
I think that would. If I
agree.
Guy,
Maybe God is actually looking down on us and saying, "I'm saving your souls, so you don't lose on a 70-yard field goal by a rookie kicker."
If I saw them line up at like their own 48 to kick a field goal, I'd be laughing. And then if they made it, I would just, I wouldn't know what the fuck what. We had 2 losses with the record-setting fucking field goal. Like what?
Their kicker said before the game that he has no problem hitting from 70. And when he's the first kicker to hit 2 field goals by 60 yards right in one game.
He's also the first. So the last kicker to not miss a kick.
We could have signed this guy in the offseason.
So the last rookie was 19 straight. Was the best streak. He's at like 35.
38.
No, fuck.
38.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
He was at 37 for 37. Then he had 38. He might even be 39 now. He's
That's
unbelievable.
insane. Yeah.
And he's like, and they're from long distance.
Meanwhile, we're looking at like 30-yard chip shots. Like, we're going for it.
Dude, when we hit a field goal one time, I turned to my friends and like, I have absolutely no confidence in this field goal. And it was like, I think it was like the 30. I think it was like when we went to make it within, what was it, 14, 17? They had it was 17 to. No, I don't know what it was. Whatever. There's one time I turned, I'm like, I have no confidence in this.
It's the most nervous I am. And so because we talk about taking points and kicking field goals, but every time we line up for one, it's the most nervous I am at any point in the game.
How did we get to 19 points, by the way? Did we have a missed extra point in this game?
No.
4 field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah. No, we had 2 touchdowns.
Or 2 touchdowns?
We had Amon. No,
that's impossible. Yeah, then did we go?
Yeah, we went for 2. We had 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns. At 19, we could have kicked extra point.
Oh, that's right. That's 2-point conversion. Okay.
Yeah, we went for 2.
Yeah. All right, now I get it.
2 touchdowns, 2 field goals.
But that does.
But we got 7, 6. We had 7. The last play we only got 6 points, and it was 14. We're down 20 to 14.
Yeah, but 12 to
20.
So,
we're down.
So
we're down 20 to 13. We're down 20 to 13 because we had a touchdown first, 2 field goals to get to 13, and then we scored a touchdown to get to 19. And we went for 2 and didn't get it.
Okay, got you. Yeah, got you.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else for today?
I mean, you talk briefly. Who do we want to play in the playoffs?
Who do we want to play, or who do we think we're going to play?
Who do you want to play?
I want them to beat Stafford and Rams. Like if that's,
I would love to too.
I think it's just like it's again. I think this season is a lot about kind of like righting wrongs and like kind of like the checklist of like the past, essentially. Like you first had the division, got that out of the way, get the quarterback exchange and all that stuff that happened, that transpired, get that kind of monkey off your shoulder. The team that traded you, got the Super Bowl, go beat them, win, go to Dallas after that. When that's my dream scenario. If they could go Rams, Dallas, and then the NFC Championship, like that's awesome. Like, and like that's the trick you want. You want a kind of battle tested,
the way things
raunchy fight. I don't know.
The way things are now, Niners are the 1, Cowboys are the 2, we're the 3, Bucks are the 4. So like in this type of scenario here where let's say it stays like this, if the Packers somehow go into Dallas and beat them, then then they would have to travel to San Fran, and then because
we'd go
they'd be the lowest, and then we would have to obviously beat the Rams, and then if like the Eagles beat the Bucks. Which I'm kind of at a point where I think that game goes either way. Like,
Eagles are a bad football team. They're a bad football team.
Patricia just got exposed in his like second fucking game coordinator.
But they're bad all over. Their offense is awful. Hurts doesn't have no confidence. They're badly coached. There's like in Philly, like here, if you go on radio, there's reports of Nick Sirianni's not getting along with coaches. Jalen Hurts is not liked in the locker room. Like this is 97.5 with that. There's reports the same thing with Carson Wentz. They're like, we're having deja vu. Supposedly there's players. Some people think it's AJ Brown has this little group of his little cult that they don't like Jalen Hurts. They're like the other day they're talking on radio like we can't believe we're having deja vu 4 years later. At the same time when people said there's rumors that players don't like Carson Wentz, everyone's like this can't be true. It's happening again. Yeah. And you know what? when you have an arrogant asshole coach like Nick Sirianni that's so cocky and laughs at Kansas City Chiefs fans and acts like a child and a clown, you know, this is what happens. It's good when you're winning. It's going to get very ugly when you start losing.
I told my buddies the other night that all the Eagles buddies was watching the Lions Cowboys game with. I was like, listen, I was like, Patricia is going to be the beginning of the end of this regime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, their offense looks stale as fuck. They look like a college level offense out there. I was like, the defense is getting worse by the week. I was like, I was like, losing those coordinators. Like, it was one of those situations where the coordinators were the ones holding together because they're both very successful in Indy.
Exactly. And everyone wanted them gone. Everyone blamed them for the Super Bowl collapse. Everyone blamed them. They wanted them gone. Look at them. Gannon's done a very nice job in Arizona.
I think he's doing great.
He's doing great. And what's
definitely a weirdo.
Indianapolis?
Definitely a fucking weirdo.
But you know
Huge
what?
weirdo.
Yeah.
He's like, pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
Dude, he's so weird, but I kind of like it. But this is kind of a territory we're going to be running into, which is like, I think going to be a huge differentiator between like a regime like ours and theirs. Like, I think we have a coach that is ready for succession. And I don't think that Nick Sirianni was. And I think that really crippled him. But I think Dan is someone that does have foresight for things like that, where he's like, I know Ben's gone.
I think
Ben's gone. Like, that's just all it is. Like,
Dan's used to that because Dan was an assistant for so long. I mean, he knows that, especially if you're like, he was in New Orleans when Dennis Allen was getting head coaching nods. And I guess it was kind of understood of like, no, Sean's going to walk away and we're going to elevate you. But Dan's seen all this before. I think we have the right guy here.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to be a little rocky next year in the beginning once Ben leaves? And probably, of course, it's going to be a new coordinator, but let's cross that bridge when we get there. Right now,
there's so much continuity still there. It's like, it shouldn't, again, I'm sure there'll be some things that just won't be the same just because Ben just does have a way of setting plays up that he's doing something all game to play, like the 2-point conversion, having skippers like eligible check-in all game long. So when he comes in, the defense automatically thinks he's the eligible guy. Like, that's what he's doing. That's what he's in for. And like, he does stuff like that. That's really good. Like, I have a lot of tips with some of his play calling every now and then, but at the end of the day, like, he does a great job of like setting plays up later in the game, early on in the game, from just something that they keep
sets
doing.
them up all season.
It's awesome.
All season. Use it. The first Packers game, he ran a play last year where Almon-Ra sat on the fucking like button hook essentially, and then they pump faked it and they turned around, broke, and got the touchdown because every time that they like ran that play, he'd stop on. That's what hurts. Like, players, like, it's not just a game. Sometimes it's a half a season. Sometimes you said it's a season. Sometimes you watch everything you did last year and be like, we're gonna get them on this one, and then for you to just go and blow it. Like, and then, this is my problem about it. I said this, and like, let's say this was a not intentional mistake by him, that it was just a human mistake that people make. Where's accountability? Where to say, you know what? I fucked up. That's it. I'm sorry I fucked up. I messed up. I was used to 70 saying all the time, even though 60 said it, 8 said it. When I went to the line, I said it. Like, and you know what? I don't even know if I blame him. That's the NFL probably saying them when they get all the little refs together and say, do never admit to your mistakes. Mm-hmm. Just say, this is the way it went. This is the way you're trained. Stick by your story. You didn't murder this person. Don't talk to the prosecutor. DA's office. I was gonna say, I feel like it is like, I've been watching a lot of Bosch lately.
And like, I feel like it is like this. It's almost like kind of like police, the escorts, like, it's like, hey,
don't talk.
Talk to your sergeant. Right. Don't talk to anybody else. We're going to get the story straight. And then we're all going to stay to the fucking story no matter what. And what they're going to do is 8 months down the road, they're going to change this rule somehow, like they do every time. And everyone's already forgot by then. But know what they love? That everybody's fucking talking about this across the whole Twitters and fucking media sphere. And they love it. It's bringing more attention to the game. Like, they don't hate when this shit happens. I fucking swear by it. They love when this kind of stuff happens because it just gets so much publicity, so many views, so many clicks. And like, it's just, they love it. I swear.
Honestly, God, I would send, and next time we have a ref, I would send every single player to be reporting. 5 guys running to him every single time. 1 guy telling who's reporting. Cause the refs like a headache.
It'd be great if they did it like the last play of next week's game, just as a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. And then threw it to the wrong guy when the game was already over.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, if we have to go to Dallas for a playoff game, do it again. Do it again. You don't have to throw to Decker, but do it again. Do it again. Come out.
You kind of have to, right?
You have to. Absolutely.
You hear what Dan Campbell and Aiden Hutchinson said?
What?
Well, Dan Campbell.
I heard what Aiden said. Yeah.
Dan Campbell said, and this is before we thought that Philly was going to win, and they're probably not going to be the first place team anyways. Dan Campbell said, we're going to see them in a couple weeks anyways. Yeah, that's how he finished his presser. And then Aiden said, rather beat them in the playoffs. So, there'll be motivation there. And like, I expect them to listen. You want that motivation? Like, you better take care of business in Detroit, that first playoff game. That's where you got to set the tone for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And honestly, Dallas could lose. Dallas could lose to Green Bay. Dallas could lose to Rams. Dallas could lose to
all the teams that are heading into the playoffs. Yeah. Like
I think the football gods are going to give us a rematch.
I just so do I.
I think
if the NFL gets their way, it's Stafford and fucking Detroit, and then it's Lions and
here's my Super Bowl run. My Super Bowl run starts with us finishing Stafford. After all these years, we do what he couldn't do for us and winning that game, letting Goff get his revenge. Going to Dallas, revenge game.
Okay.
Going to San Fran, no revenge there, but just whoop their ass. Whatever.
Well,
I'm sure I can find a storyline.
If we go back to the Harbaugh days, the handshake gate, we can just hang
do something. Whatever. We'll find something to go there for.
I like that.
And then when everyone has us as top dogs and Baltimore's just running right through the playoffs, beating everyone by 35.
Oh, I don't think they will, man. I don't think they will. They have an Achilles heel, and it's in Cleveland. I am praying for a Lions-Browns.
But you know what? So I had my buddy Pooty over, who's just like us. He's a die-hard Ravens fan, and he's telling me everyone in Baltimore is afraid of Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
everyone. They're like same thing like us because we're talking about Stafford. He goes, "That's all everyone's talking about." We do not want to play Joe Flacco.
Yeah, 100%. Boys, listen, I gotta jump off here.
Oh, and you know what? Last thing.
Yes.
It's the same thing that's happening in LA with the Rams. All 7 Rams fans in LA are hoping, I don't want to play Jared Goff.
Well, they're just in St. Louis.
And 6 of them are kind of the Stafford family.
Most of them are in still St. Louis.
They're all Stafford's family.
All right. When can everybody?
Hold on. Time out.
Yes.
Michigan, Alabama score.
Ooh.
Oh, preview?
Yeah. We got 45 minutes to go live on this.
I got nothing on that. I don't. You know me. I'm like college football. I'm just a spectator. I don't go too hard.
I think Michigan's the best team in the country. I think they should win this game. It's Alabama. Alabama's looked a lot better.
They got hot as the season went on.
They got hot, but listen, it's been a month since everyone's played. So I think Michigan's going to win. On a score prediction, I don't know. 20-17. Maybe 20.
I think the Michigan Alabama. I don't think it's going to get crazy high scoring. I think like 24-21, 21-17. I think Michigan's going to win. I think Michigan's the better defense. I think Michigan's going to be able to contain that quarterback and force him to throw. Texas Washington. That's a game that I think can just be a wild.
Fucking 8:45 start. It's ridiculous. That game's going to finish at midnight. That's seriously ridiculous.
I mean, it's a fucking holiday.
Yeah, but everybody's got to go to work tomorrow.
I don't know.
Crazy.
I got Tuesday off.
You have Tuesday off?
Yeah.
Maybe I should own my own business too.
You back at work tomorrow?
What?
You back working tomorrow? Or you got it tomorrow off?
No, I'm working tomorrow. I was off pretty much most this past week. We don't really do much work on Christmas and New Year's. Wow, what's up?
All right. Oh no, we're talking about who has tomorrow off. I got tomorrow off. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, listen, we're gonna probably have a boring preview for this week Minnesota Lions game.
Do you think are they gonna like tip their hat? Are they gonna take probably say, hey, we're gonna take guys this week or they're not? Like, because I would just like to know going into this game, like if we.
I think the Lions are gonna go with the approach of like if they're gonna play this game like we're the 3 seed,
right?
And you know what? Maybe you get some out. Honestly, throw Teddy there. Give Teddy Bridgewater. Give Hendon Hooker the second half. Let's see Hendon.
I'd love to see him, but I think you do give this. You know, you pay respect to Teddy. Let him.
Teddy, he's playing against Minnesota.
Yeah.
The draft.
I feel like if he's retiring. I feel like you got to just do a proper send off.
I think you asked Teddy. I think you asked Teddy what he wants to do. Yeah. If Teddy says no, play the young kid, then you play the young kid.
Exactly.
I'll give Goff like a quarter and a half to play. You know, make sure you don't take no hits, nothing crazy. It's almost like a preseason game. Run out, 3-drop step, get rid of the ball, hand it off, no trick plays. You know, listen, unless the Lions really think that Washington can beat Dallas, Eagles could lose to the Giants, and they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go for this.
No, let's see. Hey, listen, let's save it for the
Eagles I
preview.
could see, but yeah, we'll talk.
Let's save it for the preview. All right?
Also, Minnesota has a chance to win. They didn't get in the playoffs if Green Bay loses.
Yeah, Minnesota has something to play
also,
for.
Green Bay loses, and I think New Orleans needs to lose.
Oh, really?
Because they beat
I thought they
Atlanta.
were eliminated.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
All right, boys.
They could
I got to end the stream. I got to end the
One
stream.
last thing. No, I'm joking. All right, go on.
We'll see you. We'll check the socials. We're gonna do our preview either Thursday or Friday. I'll see what the availability is. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you later this week.